Hello and welcome to the Events Podcast, where we help you build your events empire by building profitable events while having fun at the same time. So we've had a bit of a break over the summer, really since the start of the year. I was really busy with my company Apps Events during the pandemic. I talked about that on the last call with James. We transitioned to doing a lot of work for Google, running a lot of online events, doing different stuff. So I was just really busy, but I've really missed doing the Events Podcast, and we're still getting great views. We're actually a top 10% of all podcasts in the world still, which is amazing, as it's a very niche thing. But I want to say a couple of things. Firstly, if you enjoy the podcast, please get in touch with me. Most people don't give me any feedback, and getting feedback really encourages me to make more episodes. Just email me at dan@appsevents.com, dan@appsevents.com. Even better, if you can give us a review anywhere you listen to the podcast, please stop right now in iTunes, Spotify, Pocket Cast, wherever you are, and please leave us a review, if possible 5 stars of course, would be great. Back to the podcast. So we really focus on helping event entrepreneurs run amazing events, and that could be people who run events companies, but also just as many people, maybe more, are entrepreneurs who just run events as part of their business. They might run events to promote something else, they might run meetups, they might run one big conference a year. This is the kind of people I want to help, because I run events myself. So, this podcast is kind of like therapy for me, where I get help and assistance on how to run the event. So please, again, leave some feedback. And secondly, obviously there's a lot of costs associated with this podcast. I've got 2 people who help me out with editing and graphics and everything else. So if you're a sponsor, possibly you're a software company who sells to the event industry, and you're interested in sponsoring this podcast, like I said, it's a top 10% podcast, please get in touch. We'd love to talk to you, dan@appsevents.com, and it'd be great to talk. So thank you very much. And now on to the interview. Hello and welcome to the Events Podcast. Today I've got a bit of a different episode. I'm talking to Gerbz, G-E-R-B-Z if you're English, Z if you're American, and he's calling from Boulder, Colorado. And we actually met once or twice. We're both in a group called the Dynamite Circle. It's like an entrepreneurs group. I've mentioned it before on the podcast. Gerbz is really into crypto, and he has been for a few years. So we're going to talk a bit about, maybe taking payments for your events or for things in crypto. And then we're just going to have a general talk. So one of the great things about doing this podcast is I can talk about stuff that interests me, and I want to do more entrepreneurship episodes and just things on the fringes of what I normally talk about. So Gerbz, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan.
I want to talk about that background. I haven't, it's a good time to tell you this. I've actually got a bit of an old school crypto background. I went to what I think was the first ever, I might be wrong about this, but I think I went to the first ever Bitcoin meetup in the world.
Whoa. When would that have been?
It was in 2012, and it might have been another one, but it was definitely the first kind of conference. It was a weird situation. I was lying in bed. I was single at the time, a bit of a hangover on Saturday morning, and I had Wired magazine. I don't know if you know Wired magazine.
Yeah.
And it had this article about Bitcoin. I was like, wow, this is amazing. What is this Bitcoin? So I got on a laptop, and I saw, this is not a word of a lie, 100% true. I saw Bitcoin conference in Prague, where I lived, starting right away. So I messaged the guy, can I come to his conference? He's like, yeah, come along. Yeah, you can have a cheap ticket. So I went there, literally 2 hours later, I was at this event, never heard of Bitcoin before in my life. And there was a bunch of people there. You probably heard of Max Keiser. He's got the Keiser report. So yeah, Max Keiser, hanging out with Max Keiser, I went drinking with him. And he's referenced this as his first ever Bitcoin event. So that's why I think it is the first one. The guy called Simon, I forgot his last name. The guy who does Bank to the Future. I don't know if you've sine that guy online.
Simon Payne, I think, maybe?
No, Simon Payne's from the DC.
Oh,
Simon, yeah. Simon, I'll come to me in a minute. But a bunch of people, and it was really interesting. So I kind of found out about Bitcoin before a lot of people, I think. I think there was a lot of people with 2013, 14, but I got into it early, so that was kind of interesting how I got started with it.
So is it just you and Satoshi and Max sitting around talking Bitcoin, huh?
Yeah. Satoshi could have been there. There was probably 60, 70 people there, something like that. I mean, it wasn't like, it was one conference room in this kind of crappy hotel in Prague, and they definitely hadn't sold it out. It was just one guy who was running it. I should check out his name actually, because I've got on my email. I could have a look. Yeah, it was weird. A lot of people there. So that was early. But what about you? First of all, what's your background just generally like, and then what's your background in crypto?
Sure. Yeah, I've been in crypto since 2013. I kind of got to it in a strange way that most people in crypto today come at it from the investing angle. But I'm a web developer and an online entrepreneur, And I came at it because I was looking to solve the online payments problem. You
Yeah.
know, I was running an e-commerce project at the time, and I just hated how I was just beholden to these payment gateways, and they
Yeah.
were, bending me over for fees, and it was just really bad. And I was looking like, why couldn't someone just pay me? Like, why do we have to jump through so many hoops?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I stumbled into Bitcoin that way. Yeah, that was my entrance point, and I've just been using crypto in my business since 2013. A lot of people have just been like investing, but I've really been kind of leveraging it to do especially international payments and online payments.
Interesting. Now, I mean, obviously, this podcast, a lot of people run events. A lot of them are not big time conference producers. They maybe run events as part of their business. They're
Sure.
entrepreneurs generally. But I mean, what's the realistic way about accepting crypto for payment? And is it worth it from the point of view that so many people now are just holding, and thinking about the long term? Is
Mhm.
it is it like I mean, this is a very general question, but is it even worth getting crypto payments? Because do people want to part with their crypto and pay for things?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely is worth taking it. The route that I probably wouldn't advise is like trying to get all of your attendees to pay you in crypto.
Yeah,
But when someone comes to you and says, "I want to give you Bitcoin," you got to be ready to take it. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
maybe the way to think about it. Even Dan's been, from TMBA, he's been telling me forever, I've been wanting to accept Bitcoin. If I only accepted Bitcoin for your ticket back in, 2015 and 16 and 17 and 18, then I'd be rich today. And even to this day, they're still not set up. I just paid them with my
yeah. I
credit
mean, there's
card.
a few of like the Bitcoin. I mean, you probably know Seals and the DCs. A couple
Uh-huh.
of guys like that. The Bitcoin developer types who are quite keen to transact in Bitcoin and
Hmm.
crypto. That's definitely. But I mean, do you think? So you think there is like a subset of people that would, if you put it on there, they will pay you in crypto?
There absolutely is. I mean, the way I see it is, my money is in crypto. It's in Bitcoin. And if I need to spend any of it, it's actually a pain in the butt for me to convert it back into dollars to pay you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's
sure.
definitely people out there who have Bitcoin and want to spend it. And, it is this strange conflict where, the value of crypto is going up. So why would I want to give away something whose value is going up? So, and I do understand that perspective, but I've just been using it for payments for so long that at this point I've never regretted a single Satoshi I've paid anyone for anything.
Good. And do you have any gateways or anything? And what's a good way to start taking crypto? Like any tips for specific services to use if people want to do that?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I mean, the payment gateway that I like these days is actually it's called Coinbase Commerce. Crypto people usually cringe when the word Coinbase comes up because they think Coinbase is like out to get them. But quite honestly, Coinbase Commerce is a great tool, and the reason I recommend it is it's a tool where you hold your private keys. So most crypto gateways and most payment providers in the crypto space, they route all the payments through them and through their system, and they don't give you the private keys. And if you want, you can withdraw the Bitcoin to your wallet, if they allow you to, or if they don't
Yeah, yeah.
shut down or get hacked. But Coinbase Commerce, you hold the keys. Coinbase doesn't, and you can invoice your customers through it. You can do e-commerce payments. You can set up little widgets that you can pretty easily embed, like in your event site or something. It's a great tool these days for accepting payments directly to a wallet that you control.
Right. So you say there's a widget. So that's something a non-technical person could use. It's just like embedded some HTML into a site. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I mean, even the easiest thing is, let's say you're holding an event. I mean, if you just have any crypto wallet, you could give a Bitcoin address or an Ethereum address or however the person wants to pay you. If you just have a wallet, you could copy and paste an address and give it to them pretty easily. But if you kind of want the niceties that come with like e-commerce, I think Coinbase Commerce would probably be the way to go with that.
Right. Is there any other platforms that have like obviously a lot of platforms you can choose PayPal, Stripe, different things like that. Do any have like Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies as an option in a kind of a payment platform that you know of?
Yeah, sure. I mean, even Shopify today, you can integrate Coinbase Commerce as a payment.
Oh, really? Within
Yeah,
Shopify? That's interesting.
absolutely. And I mean, the hardcore Bitcoiners, they would all recommend like BTC Pay Server, which is much more technical. But even
Yeah.
that, I think, has Shopify integration these days. That would be kind of there's various ends of the spectrum on kind of security and how much control you want to have over your crypto.
Yeah.
Coinbase Commerce kind of falls in the middle. BTC Pay Server is more technical, and then there's even more technical, I
Yeah.
think, beyond that.
We've probably already lost a few people here. I mean, let's just backtrack a little bit
Yeah.
because because the thing about Bitcoin is, I mean, I would say don't feel worried if you don't understand it. It seems overwhelming because honestly, like I said, I've been interested in crypto for a long time, and I don't understand a lot of things. And I've spent many hours, days researching things, and still don't understand a lot of things. And it is complicated, you know. And I'm relatively technical compared to the average person, so I can understand why people are kind of, they hear things like private keys, and straight away it's like,
Oh,
I'm zoning out. I'm not interested, you know.
Yeah, the way I like to think about it, I've been thinking about this a lot actually lately. It's like when you first started to use the internet, you didn't approach the internet like, oh, I'm going to read a book about the internet and I'm going to spend the weekend learning about the internet and then I'm going to know about the internet.
Yeah,
Like it didn't work like that. It was you started somewhere and then you learned about it for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
it looks like crypto is kind of going similarly.
Yeah, so I mean, I was listening to your interview on the TMBA podcast, and you were saying the best way you advise. This is just a general point about people who are interested is just to buy some Bitcoin, and then you'll learn a lot about it just by having it and playing with around with it.
Yeah, Bitcoin is definitely the entrance to the crypto rabbit hole, right? Like that's the starting point. The first thing you need is some sort of like, I call it a fiat on ramp. Like somehow you got to convert your smelly old government money into crypto. And so that's why you need like a Coinbase or one of these exchanges. And then once you convert it into crypto, they're still holding onto your crypto for you. And then the next step is to take it to a wallet where you control the keys. And that's where it starts to get complicated, but it's really not. You just need it. It's just a good password is all holding your keys means, is you've got a good password that you've got saved somewhere and you can withdraw your crypto to your own wallet. And that's where there is some technicalities to it, but it's an important technicality. This is like you start to really understand crypto when you just take that step of taking control of it.
And I think this is what scares people. And to be honest, I think anyone who's got any crypto, anyone who's interested in crypto, it scares them because, like, obviously private key, you know, like what we're talking about. If you've got your Bitcoin on an exchange, quite often they've got the private key, you don't have it. But if you've got it on a hardware wallet, which can be like a little device, or on a wallet on your computer, which maybe you keep offline, you've got your private key. And the scary thing is if somebody else knows your private key, they can get your Bitcoin, you know?
Yeah,
that's all they need. And there's basically a phrase, you know, a seed phrase, which can be 12 to 24, maybe even more possibly words.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just literally, let's say it's 12 words, you know, like dog, house, lamp, computer. And if somebody knows that, all they've got to do is know those 12 words and they can take all your Bitcoin. And that is scary, you know. I know, because if you think, people say it's the same as banking, but I don't think it is, because to get money out of someone's bank is quite a complex process. It's probably got, you've got a two-factor authentication, there's different things. But if you get someone's seed phrase, just those words is all you need and you have everything. And that is scary.
It is and it isn't. There are certain things you can do to protect yourself. For example, one of my favorite, like easy tips for solving that is should have a passphrase also. And the word sounds similar to seed phrase, but if you've got that 12 or 24 words written down in your safe, or like, hammered into metal somewhere, it's protected. But if you have a passphrase, it's one more word that you can tack onto the end and you can make it up. It can be any word you want. And you can use that to protect your crypto even one step further. And then you just keep your seed phrase and your passphrase.
Nice. I didn't even know about that. Yes, you have your seed plus a passphrase.
Exactly. And then if you keep those in two separate places, or maybe you just memorize your passphrase, it's just one word. Then even if, God forbid, someone got a hold of your private key, they still couldn't access your crypto.
Right. And do a lot of wallets, like does the Electrum wallet, for example, does that have this option to have a passphrase?
I use Electrum along with my hardware wallet, so I don't know specifically, but I would guess it does. Like a Ledger or a Trezor, they both definitely support a passphrase.
Yeah, interesting. That's a good point. But I think the thing that scares people as well is it's getting harder, but it is still easy to lose your Bitcoin. You can send it to the wrong address. In the early days, I was playing around with Bitcoin. I sent I was playing around with Litecoin. I sent some Litecoin to a Bitcoin address by mistake, and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like never to be seen again.
Yeah, those things happen.
There's a lot of stuff like that. It's scary.
It is. I mean, I'm still surprised to this day. I've never lost any, and I've tinkered with every damn wallet and every exchange and all these cryptos. But I think you just kind of get more comfortable with it over time.
Yeah, you do definitely, and I think there's a lot of the more you look into banks and the more you look into fiat currency, meaning dollars, pounds, whatever, you realize that what a kind of confidence trick in a way that is. It's all just reliant on people having confidence in it. It's not backed by, it used to be backed by gold. It's not anymore. So I think, Bitcoiners would say that, regular currency is riskier than cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree with that. I mean, we work so hard for our money and we never even see it. Like if you have a job, like the money goes from your employer to your bank and it never even flows through you anymore. Like your bank your bank gets direct access to your money. That's why they're always pushing direct deposit, right? It's because they don't, that one day of like where it's sitting in a check or in the form of a check, like that one day is them losing money because your money isn't in their hands yet. So banks are scary, man.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I mean, I don't trust banks at all. I mean, if you look here in Czech Republic, they've got you use a contactless payment anywhere. Now you've got it on your phone and watch and everything, and like money's on the way out. Almost everything. I mean, I'm guilty as anyone. I almost don't use cash for anything anymore. I'll buy, like, I went to buy some milk, like 50 cents, and I just paid with my contactless thing.
Yeah. I mean, with Amazon's testing that thing, right, where you can just walk out of the store and it just knows who you were, and you could just pick things up off the shelf and walk out and it tracks you. I mean, that's incredible. And I mean, that is incredibly convenient. And what I've been, Michael Saylor, ever since he came on the scene, he's had so many like incredible insights. If you aren't familiar with him, he's the CEO of MicroStrategy. Yeah. And he's been talking a lot about Bitcoin. And one of the things that, I mean, I came into this space from that payments angle, and I've been wanting to see crypto used for payments more and more over time. Yeah. And we've actually seen that happen less and less over time, which is really interesting. But I mean, he makes a good point around, he says, crypto will never be as simple as tapping your Apple Watch at the checkout and walking out the door. He's like, it's not designed to like let Visa and MasterCard, let them rule the world of these tiny, like $1, $2, even $100 payments that you make all the time. But 99.9% of your money is in your bank account or in your investments or sitting somewhere else. And so Bitcoin's not trying to solve the problem of like everyday microtransactions. It's trying to solve the money problem. And that's a much bigger problem.
Definitely. Just to take a step back to what you said about the Amazon store. I don't know if you've seen this. I went to a sports store yesterday and bought a couple of things. And now they've got these bins by the till. I don't know if you've seen this. Literally, you just put everything in the bin, and it just automatically, from some kind of sensors in there, tells you the price. It's like a big basket. You just throw it all in the basket and it tells you the price straight away.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, these things, it's getting so easy. Like they don't even want you to think about payments anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's true. And the other thing is the banks. I mean, like if you do any kind of research about a lot of the crap banks have got up to, I mean, HSBC was actively working with Mexican cartels to launder all their money, and that's not a conspiracy theory. You can read about it, and the more you read about it, there's multiple stories about that. It's like, they're not. We think of them as some kind of like quasi-official institution, but it's just really a private company. And even though they're regulated, it doesn't really mean much in terms of how safe your money is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they illegally make hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, and then they get fined tens of billions of dollars for it. So the incentive for them to just lie, cheat, and steal is so good that they just like, forget it. Let's steal.
Yeah, and every year something comes. They were manipulating the LIBOR rate and different things. I mean that's kind of, I think, the thing that turns a lot of people onto crypto. It's just the more you read about banks and what they do, you'd like to exist in a world without them if possible.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, even coming back to the payments thing a little, most people are familiar with using something like PayPal or something. And if you run a big e-commerce operation, I mean, this payment provider, they're the fees, they always promote like, 3% plus, 10 cents. And no one really balks at that. But when you start to get to scale, first of all, that's like PayPal owns 3% of your company. Right? Because every payment that flows through your business, they're taking before it even reaches you, they're taking their cut. They might as well own a big chunk of your company.
It's unbelievable. I mean, we take payment through PayPal. And one of the things we do through my company, Apps Events, we resell Google Workspace to schools. We work with schools. And so we had a customer wanted to pay us with PayPal. And then what happens is we get paid by the school. We keep 20%, and then we pay the rest on, So we thought, so we only keep 20%. So we're going to lose. It's actually close to 4% from PayPal if you include everything. So we're actually going to lose 20% of our profit, because our whole profit is only 20%,
Right.
so it's like, it's crazy. Like, so just from that, we could lose like, 20% of the profit, it's ridiculous.
And a simple concept like that is, and that's why Bitcoin is growing, or that's why crypto is growing. People are looking for solutions to that specific problem, I think. And that's why I think entrepreneurs get the crypto like advantage immediately. Like they hear this and they see this and they're like, oh, I don't have to pay 20% of my profit to my payment provider. I'm in. Like, I'll jump through whatever hoops it takes.
Definitely, but couldn't Bitcoin actually be a payment solution? I mean, obviously, there's the whole debate about, is it a store of value or payment, but there's a lot of technical reasons why people say it would be very difficult to scale it. Right
Yeah.
now, do you have any opinion on that?
I do. I mean, back when we started in crypto, it was free to use Bitcoin. It was like a fraction of a penny. You could fling it around all day. And that's because just, you, me, Satoshi, and Max Kaiser were the only people using Bitcoin, right? And what happened was, as it's grown, scaling has turned into a problem. So, Bitcoin has this thing, the blockchain is built of blocks, and these blocks have a finite amount of space in them. So every 10 minutes, only a certain amount of transactions can happen on the blockchain. And it's restricted in that way for a reason. It's to allow Bitcoin to remain decentralized. And now that Bitcoin is popular, everyone's using it. These blocks are full. They're overflowing. Yeah. And if you want to get your transaction through on the Bitcoin network, you gotta up your fee. It's like a little auction every 10 minutes to get your transaction onto the chain. And yeah, I mean, now the blocks are full and they've remained full. I mean, there's something weird going on right now, this moment, with everything. It's really easy to use. It's cheap to use Bitcoin right now, but we'll be back full again in no time. And
what about the Lightning Network? Like, what's the Lightning Network, and how can that enable payment? And what do you think of it?
The Lightning Network so what's happened since the blocks have been full, everyone's looking for the solution now is to use like second layer, third layer, fourth layer solutions. Yeah. Meaning you want to build things on top of Bitcoin where you can do lots of transactions on the side, and then one transaction at the end of the day to sort of settle with the Bitcoin network.
Yeah.
The Lightning Network is sort of like that. The easy way to think about the Lightning Network is it's sort of like opening a tab at a bar. It's like when you go to the pub, you don't pay for every beer that you get from the bartender. Yeah. You start a tab, and then you can do 20 transactions throughout the night with them, and then or you can do 20 beers throughout the night, and then one transaction at the end of the night to close it out. And the Lightning Network allows for that.
Do you think is it viable? Is the Lightning Network something that could make Bitcoin a payment solution?
I think it is and it isn't. The thing is, Lightning is very complicated. You think Bitcoin is complicated? Try using Lightning Network, man. Yeah. And I mean, some of these apps that enable Lightning payments, they're custodial apps, meaning these app developers are holding your crypto for you. And that was the whole point of getting into crypto in the first place, was to avoid some of those troubles. So that's why I say it is and it isn't. Like, it's a way to use Bitcoin and for Bitcoin to scale, but it comes with some drawbacks.
Definitely. So we'll come back to Bitcoin at the end. I'm keen to get your predictions. I'm going to put you on the spot and see what you think is going to happen to the Bitcoin price as well. It's good if we can look back and see how well. I mean, no one knows. What about the other cryptocurrencies? I mean, that's the thing that freaks people out. Let's say they set up an account on Coinbase or Bitstamp or one of these, and there's just like a million. I think a lot of people think, well, I'll get a bit of Bitcoin, I'll get a bit of Ripple, but I mean, there's I don't know how many currencies are there at the moment. I mean, there's probably thousands or maybe tens of thousands, and a huge percentage of scams, and a huge percentage I think are going to go to zero. But what do you think people should look at what other cryptocurrencies, or how should they think about altcoins, as they call them?
Yeah, so I mean, when you're kind of constructing your crypto portfolio, Bitcoin is the very first place to start, and then people usually go into Ethereum. Yeah. And Ethereum, Ethereum is like not even Bitcoin at all. It's like a totally different thing. These baskets of cryptos, a lot of them are like, they're nothing like each other in a lot of ways. It's sort of like the stock market, right? It's like, oh, I want to buy stocks. Should I buy, Apple or Tesla? It's like, they're such different things. How are they even being compared to each other? Yeah. Right. So I think Ethereum is kind of the next place to start. And each of these cryptos, they solve a different problem in the world. And I think that's kind of the way to think about it is, what are the problems that you're having today? Maybe payments is the thing that you think needs to be solved in the world. So
Yeah.
there's cryptos like Nano, or there's cryptos like Terra that are like super fast and super cheap. They're not as decentralized though, maybe. So like
Yeah.
maybe central control isn't really the problem you're trying to solve in the world. So you can kind of diversify your buckets based on kind of what you see is needed out there. And there's all these different categories. Some of them are like DeFi. DeFi projects are trying to like unseat the banks and change and recreate Wall Street on top of the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah.
Monero is solving for privacy. If you think privacy with payments is the root problem with all payments, then maybe you should be looking into things like Monero. So yeah, you kind of construct your basket of cryptos based on what you think is a good investment opportunity.
But don't, I mean, obviously Bitcoin's risky in itself, but don't you think that most of these altcoins are going to go to zero? And or what do you think? Oh no, and that's what I think, but I don't know what you think.
I don't actually.
No?
I think they're all trying to solve different problems. If an altcoin is out there trying to be the new hard money, they're going to zero.
Yeah.
And that's the way if you're trying to build, a multi-purpose smart contract chain, you're going to zero.
Yeah.
So and that would be, because Ethereum is just kind of the ruler in that camp.
Yeah.
I think, one thing I've been hearing a lot, like there's a lot of people, you'll hear this term like Bitcoin maximalist, which is
Yeah.
this idea that like Bitcoin is the one true like currency to rule them all, and there will never like everything else is going to zero.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I agree with that. I think it's the one true currency to rule the hard money layer of and solve the hard money problem. But as you know, there's a lot of problems in the world, and I think there will be a lot of cryptocurrencies to solve them.
Interesting. I mean, I'm going more towards being a Bitcoin maximalist, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
I didn't used to be, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? But I think there's so many. Okay, I think some will survive, but I mean, let's say there's like privacy. I mean, I don't know. There's Pirate Chain. There's obviously Monero. There's probably 100 others.
Yep.
Like, they can't all succeed. Like
No.
one might succeed. So, okay, maybe Monero succeeds, but I think the rest are going to go to zero. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, and I mean, and the Bitcoin maximalists will say, if the Monero technology is sound and if this gains amazing traction, then we can integrate these privacy features into Bitcoin in the future. But what we've seen is, Bitcoin is sort of calcifying. Like, there's no way Bitcoin's adding any more features ever at this point.
Yeah.
Like, they're trying to remove features, I think. So I just don't see that as being the route forward. And things like privacy, for example, I mean, it could happen maybe on a layer 2 or a layer 3. And quite honestly, are these not new altcoins? Like, and this a Bitcoin maximalist would argue this to the death, but is Lightning in a lot of ways not another altcoin? Like, it's actually, you're moving LBTC on top of the Litecoin network. It's complicated, but it's not Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. I want to come back to, like, I'm curious, if you don't mind, what do you think? What's your price prediction? Let's say end of this year. So we're recording this in August 2021. The prices, I haven't looked at it, 38,000 maybe, or 39,000.
Yeah, but I think I saw 39 this morning. Yep.
What do you think is going to happen? And you can give us some context if you want. I mean, you talk about the halvings and how you see it. I mean, and what? Okay, answer that, and then I've got another question.
Oh man, but you threw the thing. You can talk about halvings. I could talk about that for all day.
No, because this is what people want to hear, and of course, I mean, everyone. I mean, you could be 1,000,000% off. I'm curious. Well, like, what you think? What if you were going to guess?
Yeah. So first of all, I think people who've been in crypto, they all knew that this bull market was coming, and we've all been waiting for this halving event to occur. I think it happened in like May of last year, and then kind of within 6 months of that, we started to get the uptick. And I think somewhere around 6 months ago or so, we broke above last cycle's all-time high, which was around 20,000.
Yeah.
And that was if we didn't have confirmation already that we were in this new bull market, and that then that was it. So we broke above 20K. And my prediction all along has been somewhere we're going to 6 figures, and it's somewhere either around, we're going to top out either above 100K or 250K, depending on how emotionally extreme the invert goes kind of towards the end of the cycle. We have had, I think one thing that happened this cycle too was there was a lot of muscle memory from the 2017, 2018 days. in 2017, 18, we had this amazing, strong bull market, and everyone was learning about crypto while trying to figure out how to make money in it.
Yeah.
And then today, when we kicked into this bull market, there was a lot of muscle memory there. Like people knew what to do. They dusted off their wallets and they plugged them in, and they already had their accounts set up and their exchanges set up. So I think we went a lot higher, a lot faster this cycle. And I think what happened is we kind of like it was just too hot too fast. So we needed to cool down. And I think there was someone out there just started and there was a lot of whales that were selling kind of when we started to hit that 60K range. We actually Bitcoin topped out at the $1 trillion mark. If you draw a line on the chart where Bitcoin meets $1 trillion, we broke above it, and then we just kind of bounced around on that $1 trillion number, and we struggled to really break free of it and go higher. So we've kind of been through a little correction for the last couple of months, but we're gonna start to really regain momentum here, I think. And sometime I would say before the end of the year, we're going to be at 100K. And I wouldn't be surprised to see us have this kind of emotionally bent run to even 250K at the very end of this thing.
The thing is, it's just like that would just, I mean, I hope you're right, but I just don't know, because I read somewhere that if Bitcoin gets to $150,000, half of the 400 richest people in the world will be Bitcoin holders at that point. Which is like, I mean, that would be like a different world we'd live in, like if that really is true. But it's, I never predicted it would have gone anything like this. I thought it might have gone to 1,000 if you'd have asked me back in 2013, maybe 1,000, So, but do you think so? But what probability would you put on that? Like, what probability would you say it's going to go to zero, and what probability would you say we could be in like a bear market now?
So this was, the third halving event that's occurred.
Yeah.
Every time within 6 months of the halving, we've gone into this bull market mode. Plan B has constructed this stock to flow model, which is used quite often. And quite frankly, my predictions are based roughly on that model. And it basically shows how as Bitcoins are released into the world, which kind of increases the supply of Bitcoin, which is going to be fixed at 21 million. But as that number as the issuance schedule of new Bitcoins gets cut in half, the price just continues to go up. And he's modeled that, and so far we've followed it to a T. So yeah, I mean I definitely look at that, but it can be busted. So there's this big cycle or this big theory right now. People call it like the Bitcoin super cycle theory. And the idea is that we've broken free of this previous stock to flow model that we used to have. Bitcoin has matured. These halving events are not going to really have as much of an impact as they used to have. And maybe now we just start to have kind of more like smaller, tighter bull and bear markets, as opposed to this monster 4-year cycle that we've been
When's the next halving
through.
scheduled for, like, roughly? Do the people know when it's coming?
Sure. Yeah. 2024.
2024. Okay.
I believe, because I think so May. So if the last halving was May of last year, that was 2020. So yeah, 2024 should be the next one.
Cool. And do you see any possibility it's going to go to zero? I mean, in your opinion?
Oh, zero? No way, man. Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
No putting it back in.
Not even that another cryptocurrency could take over from Bitcoin, and it could be another one.
Let's put it this way, Dan. Is the internet going to go to zero? Is there going to be a new internet that takes over the internet, and the internet's going to zero?
It's unlikely at this point, but yeah. And
there's just one funny thing about that is the other day I was at an electronics store, and I had to do this like return, and in order for this return to go through, they had to do a fax. Yeah, they had to fax another store. And I was like, I'm standing here in front of you. Can't we just call them real quick and get this over with so I don't have to wait? They're like, sorry, this is our procedure. So even though we have the phone, even though we have email, even though we have live streaming video now, the fax machine hasn't even gone away yet. So is there a chance that Bitcoin could go away? Hell no.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's America, like it always, I mean, like here, for example, checks don't even exist, but in America, it's completely normal to get paid by checks, which is like a crazy outdated.
It's crazy.
And banks, I think the banks, like, they hold on to your money for so long,
Yeah.
For the check to clear. But I mean, it always amazes me how, people think the US is the most advanced economy, and it is in a lot of ways, but not in terms of a lot of things like that,
I know.
Yeah, that's super interesting. What about okay? So I think let's take takeaways from this. I think definitely people should look at doing looking at taking crypto payments, even if, like you said, they just put a wallet address on their website, and if no one uses it, no one uses it. But it's like you might as well put a trial balloon and see if there's some interest, I think.
I think so too. And I mean, another huge benefit to doing that is, you'll hear that one of the best strategies for investing in Bitcoin is to dollar cost average. I mean, in fact, it's the best strategy to invest in anything, quite frankly. And the reason is timing the market is really, really hard. Like even people who spend all day, every day trying to time the market fail, 51% of the time or 49% of the time. So if you just accept payment in Bitcoin, like here and there and throughout the year, and maybe from some of your attendees, just kind of whenever, it's sort of this way of dollar cost averaging into your Bitcoin investment without trying to time the market. And I think that's a good, like, anyone who's getting into crypto from this e-commerce perspective, I think that's kind of a beautiful angle on it.
Definitely. Well, man, that was really interesting. Thanks very much for talking. I know you've got a website where you help people with crypto and stuff. Like, what's your website and what are you doing? What's your business?
Yeah, I do. The site is bitlift.com. And we actually just launched the BitLift podcast this week. So that's been really exciting. I've been writing about crypto for all through this kind of bull market cycle. But man, writing is just so painful. And I kind of stumbled into the idea that, hey, maybe I could just talk about it and kind of solve the same problem there.
Podcasting is great. I mean, the thing is, if you're probably like me, that I just listen to podcasts all the time. That's my main. I mean, I'll watch a bit of YouTube, but less and less. I mean, when I'm driving, I'm working out, whatever, I'm always listening to podcasts. I mean, obviously, probably like you, the Tropical MBA was how I discovered Dynamite Circle, and I love podcasts, and I like doing it. Because I think most people, you go through the enthusiasm and then the trough of sorrow with podcasting. So in the beginning, you're really keen, you do it every week, and it's like, oh, this is so hard. And then it's like, then you have a bit of a break, and then you kind of think, well, maybe I'll do it every 2 weeks. And then that's what I'm at now. I want to release this every 2 weeks because I've got 2 podcasts, and I really enjoy it. I mean, it's funny that I've done no promotion for this podcast. I've been terrible. I've just literally, do the podcast. And I still get emails every week, like 2, 3, sometimes 10 emails a week from people that listen to it. Episodes they found from like a year ago. And that's kind of a cool way to get your name out there. It's kind of weird how it's, and I'm going to put some more effort into marketing, but it's funny how it's got this long tail effect where people will find an interview even years later and get in touch with you. It's quite cool.
Yeah, I love that. And I've got just so many ideas and so many things I want to talk about. Like, even if I tried to write them all, it would just take me forever. So I think it'll probably be hot and heavy here in the beginning. I've got a lot of stuff I want to release on the BitLift podcast. But then who knows, maybe it'll cool down. But, probably around the same time Bitcoin tops out, maybe that's when my podcasting energy will top out. Who knows?
Well, I think there's room for more. I mean, one of the Bitcoin podcasts is Pomp, I think, is the big one. And what Bitcoin did, I've listened to a few
Peter
times.
McCormick,
Yeah, but I mean, I know they're making huge amounts of money from this. I think, even if I guess you're doing this to promote your other business and just because you're interested in it. But I think there's room for a lot more crypto podcasts. Because if you find a good one, you just listen to all the episodes. If someone likes your style, they like your episode, they're just going to listen to everything. Which I think
and I mean, most of them out there, they're all these kind of interview-based podcasts, which are awesome. But what I'm really trying to do is, we say on the BitLift podcast, like, we don't just stack crypto, we use it. And I think that's an angle on it that isn't talked about it as much. There's definitely there's either hyper technical podcasts about using crypto, or there's just these kind of general, theoretical, philosophical crypto podcasts. I want to be kind of somewhere in the middle where I'm helping real people just use the damn thing and try to make some money and try to solve some of their problems.
Definitely. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Gibbs. Check out bitlift.com, I guess. Is that the domain?
That's the one.
Yeah, check it out and check out the podcast. So thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.